next 24 hours, over 3,000 American teens will attempt to take their own lives. 17 will die. According to the Bureau of Health Statistics, teen death from suicide is higher. There are more teen deaths from suicide than there are teen deaths from diabetes, heart disease, cancer, or homicide. The Center for Disease Control states 25% of our young adults are struggling with suicidal thoughts. Teen suicide. 25%? That's more than double what it was just 2 years ago. Teen suicide is a growing and contagious epidemic. 26 years ago, my daughters were in high school and middle school. We were a stable, middle-class American family. It was June 1995, the beginning of summer. My daughters were getting ready for their summer trip to visit their dad and his family one state away. That meant shopping. My daughter, Stephanie, was 14. She was in between her sisters, in between schools, and in between clothing sizes. Shopping became an adventure. Outfit after outfit, store after store, nothing fit her. And at the end of the day, we came home with nothing except an attitude. Stephanie headed straight upstairs to the bathroom. I collapsed on the sofa, grateful to be off my feet. Peace and quiet. Then, Mom, I think I need help. My eyes were drawn to Stephanie's left arm. Blood was dripping down her fingers onto the wood floor. The emotional part of my brain started screaming in terror at the sight of my bleeding, obviously suicidal child. The rational part of my brain started flipping through the files in my head, looking for the date of her last tetanus shot. I wrapped her in my arms and assessed the wounds. They were not life-threatening. Have you ever felt panicky and calm at the same time? We applied bandages. We made plans to visit the local teen mental health facility the next day. Our tears finally stopped. Our mutual I'm sorries were shared, and she slept. I couldn't risk being away from her, so we slept in the living room. Between us was a handwritten note, her promise not to try and harm herself again while I slept. Yeah, right, like I was going to close my eyes that night? All night, I stared into the darkness and listened to her breathe, grateful she was still alive. My thoughts whirled. What just happened? How did this happen? Who's to blame? It had to be somebody's fault, right? What followed? Years of counseling, therapy, medications, hospitalizations, interventions, and 13 more attempts. Stephanie getting professional help made it easy for me to sell myself on the idea that we didn't need to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it. Would you want to know what could cause your child so much mental and emotional pain that they thought dying was better than living? I didn't want to know, so I didn't ask. I was scared of putting the idea back into her head, so I stayed silent. A silence that lasted for 23 years. Then, on Saturday, August the 3rd, 2019, Stephanie, now 37, breaks the silence. The morning of her talk is sunny and already hot. The hotel was on the outskirts of Sarasota, Florida. I walk into the conference room and greet the 12 speakers that I've trained to deliver messages that matter. The videographer sets up, the microphone and projector work. The audience take their seats. Stephanie is nervous and excited. You know that state you get into right before you give a talk? She looks amazing in her dark blouse and flowery skirt and her hair pulled back in combs. I am super proud of my daughter. She's first up on the speakers roster. Everyone help me welcome Stephanie Ashton. Stephanie walks confidently to the front of the room and shakes my hand. She begins. 3,000 teenagers will attempt to take their life today in the U.S. When I was 14, at the end of a bad day of shopping, I stood in my bathroom. The pain of not fitting into any clothes was just more proof that I didn't fit in anywhere. The pain was more than I could bear. I took a razor and cut into my left arm, trying to end the pain and my life. I'm in disbelief at Stephanie's big reveal. The blood drains from my face as she talks. It wasn't my only attempt. There were others. Outside of professional help, I've never really talked about it, not even with Mom. Mom and I had other talks. We had the talk about sex. We had the talk about drugs. We had the talk about alcohol. Then I went to college on a dry campus. That means the kegs were hidden in the showers of the girls' dorm. But we never had the talk about suicide. I still struggle with suicidal thoughts. In the back of the room, my heart sinks. I go from pale to bone cold. For the first time, I realize the struggles that Stephanie has faced alone because I didn't have the courage to break the silence and have the talk about suicide. Have you ever been hijacked by a bad memory? Only my 30 years of stress management training keeps me from crawling into a corner and just bawling my eyes out. Stephanie winds up her talk with, on my suicide avoidant journey, I've learned tons of coping skills. Now I want to help teens learn these skills before they need them. Yes, before they need them. There's not a dry eye in the house, including mine. The audience give her a standing ovation. Some of them rush up and hug her and thank her for being so willing, so vulnerable, so brave. I'm frozen in the back of the room, torn between pride for her bravery and shame and guilt for my cowardice. Then it hit me. 3,000 teens attempt to take their own lives every day. This means every day 6,000 parents start to live the guilt nightmare. This means every day over 20,000 grandparents, aunts, uncles, brothers, and sisters start to live the guilt nightmare. This means hundreds of thousands of classmates, teachers, boyfriends, girlfriends, and neighbors. Start to live the guilt nightmare that I'd lived, all probably just as blindsided by it as I had been. Then I wondered, what if Stephanie was right? What if the key to ending teen suicide was as simple as having the conversation about suicide before they need it, before your teen struggles with suicidal thoughts? This is the missing link, something so simple, so obvious that professionals have missed it. They tripped over it. Simple and obvious, like putting wheels on luggage. Simple, obvious, like putting ketchup in squeezable bottles. Simple and obvious. After the event, Stephanie and I decided to work together. Who knew that was possible? We founded together the Teen Suicide Prevention Society. Our research showed us that teen suicide prevention is not about intervention. And it's not about at-risk anyone. It's not about looking for signs. It's prevention. This means having the talk about suicide before you think they need it. We started teaching moms, dads, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and friends how to have the talk about suicide. The talk about suicide is a planned, science-based talk. It has a short, simple script based on how the teen brain really works. A script designed to save you from the guilt nightmare. A script designed to tell you when intervention is needed. A script that builds emotional resilience in both the teen and you. Here's our 4-step script for having the talk about suicide. Step 1, invite your teen to talk one-on-one and ask, have you heard about the rise in teen suicides? Step 2, invite your teen by asking, just ask your teen, do you have a friend who's tried or died? Step 3, ask your teen, have you ever thought of leaving that way? Step 4, ask your teen, what are your reasons for staying? Why stay? Ask what else. Keep them sharing their reasons for staying. If your teen has thoughts of leaving and doesn't have any reasons for staying, stay with them and call 911. They'll hate you for it, and you might save their life. Our students share their stories with us. Like Raphael, he shared 16 stories of lives that the talk about suicide has saved so far. He works with underprivileged teenage girls. Tammy had the talk about suicide with her troubled son. They cried together. He accepted professional help. Now, it's your turn. Don't wait. Break the silence. Have the talk.